You can start real estate at any part of your life. You can start it part-time. You can start it full-time. You can do it while you're going to college. It's no really, time when it's a bad time.
Welcome. This is the Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing podcast. This is where you'll learn strategies to help you achieve lifetime financial freedom through real estate investment. Your host, Rod Khleif, has owned over 2,000 homes and apartments, and he brings experts in all aspects of real estate investment and management onto the show. Now, here's your host, Rod Khleif.
Welcome to another edition of How to Build Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing. I'm Rod Khleif, and I'm very glad you're here. I know you guys are going to like the two gentlemen we're interviewing today. These guys have built a $32 million multifamily portfolio from ground zero in literally 3 years. They've also built their own property management company to manage their holdings. And they've co-authored a book together, Wheelbarrow Profits, How to Create Passive Income, Build Wealth, and Take Control of Your Destiny Through Multifamily Real Estate Investing. These guys literally do it all. They also have a podcast about multifamily investing called the Wheelbarrow Podcast. Without further ado, my guests today are Jake Stenziano and Gino Barbero. Hey, guys, I'm thrilled to have you on the show.
Super excited to be here. Thanks, Rod.
Ron, how you doing?
Awesome. So where are you guys calling from?
This is Jake, and I am actually sitting up today in Knoxville, Tennessee.
And I'm sitting up here in Blustery, New York.
Well, I like both places, actually. Knoxville's awesome. I love Gatlinburg. I love going there. And New York, of course, is New York. So, that's awesome. So why multifamily, guys? Tell me a little about how you got started, your backgrounds, and why multifamily.
Sure. So we started out our professional relationship, I would say, in 2011. This is Jake, and we were at the time. I was working for a top 3 pharmaceutical manufacturer, doing in Westchester County, some diabetes, some cardiovascular drugs, and I was doing Gino's restaurant for all my catering. Everybody in Westchester knows Gino's, and they're the best. So, we were doing it out, making it happen, if you will, and I just started to really look at my personal financial situation and being in New York, and realized that I felt like I was getting choked out between the property taxes. I was living in a 1-bedroom apartment at the time. I wanted to buy a house, but I couldn't see it with the the cost of living and whatnot. So I pushed for a transfer to Knoxville, Tennessee. Cost of living is great. There's no state income tax. Property taxes are very low, and as part of that, I was being mentored by a lot of doctors when I was in New York that were some pretty big-time real estate investors, and they were saying that the real path for them building wealth was not their practices, not their doctor practices. It was through real estate. So I was just, I was listening. I was, hanging out with these guys a lot at dinners and things like that in the pharmaceutical industry, and just, I think it was all starting to build up over time, taking these mental notes. The actual last that I was in Gino's before I left to move to Tennessee, I stopped in, and Gino's brother Marco, we're good friends, and he was I was talking to him about how I was interested in getting into real estate when I was moving down to Tennessee, and he said, "You got to talk to my brother. He's the man. He just he knows multifamily, knows real estate." So I said, "Well, let's do it." So literally there, we were sitting down having lunch, and we pulled the laptop out and started looking at deals in Knoxville before I even moved. So fast forward a little bit, later on in 2011, Gino and I were looking at deals and putting in some offers, and Gino was mentoring me along the way. But the crazy thing was people were saying that we're nuts. We're offering, seller financing. We're asking for seller financing and some other creative financing offers. And the brokers, because we didn't have credibility in the market, looked at us like we were nuts and basically told us that we're never going to do a deal. They were kind of right, because it took us 2 years before we got into our first deal. I actually got discouraged and quit for a little bit. I went and bought a house, took all my seed money and bought a house, and then eventually this one deal came along, and it was ignored for the longest time. People didn't want to touch it. There was drug problems, and it was on LoopNet for Gino. How long was it on LoopNet? Maybe 2 years?
Yeah.
A year?
It was on for a while.
It was on LoopNet for a long, long time. So we were able to get in with 10% down, 10% owner financed, and we were able to negotiate the price down. And And from that point, it was off to the races. And since then, we're up to about 675 units.
Wow, that's fantastic. I read that you just went under contract on a 156-unit property. Can you speak to that one?
Sure. Let me give you a 30-second overview of my story first, because I want I want the listeners out there to hear that real estate is for anybody. I mean, I had a pretty successful business. I'm 45 years old. I've got 6 children. So no matter what stage of life you're in, whether you're retired, you're just starting out, my issue with me was that back in '08, business changed for everybody. The restaurant world just changed. Stopped making the money I was making. And I also felt unfulfilled, which is what probably a lot of people out there are. They're just stuck. They don't know where to go. And I found Jake. I said, listen, I love partnering. I've been having a partner for the last 20 years of my life. I was always in partnership with my brother. So I said, you know what, let's give this a try. So just, for all the listeners out there, you can start real estate at any part of your life. You can start it part-time. You can start it full-time. You can do it while you're going to college. It's no really, time when it's a bad time. So I started out with Jake. I said, you know what, I need to create this passive income. I need to create wealth. The restaurant was great. It was a job. Basically every week you go, you get paid. I wanted to create wealth. That's what I wanted to do. And I wanted to just build a big business where I can scale up. And I said to myself, this is probably the best opportunity for me. So that's where I came from. And, it's worked out fabulously. I mean, is it hard? It's really hard. They say it's, something simple to do, and it really is, because once you get a recipe, you just keep following it, but it's not easy. It really isn't easy, and Jake will speak to that later. You just can't quit. You just got to keep pushing forward, and you're going to make mistakes, and, if you don't make mistakes, it means you're not living. It's just part of life. You have to make those mistakes, and once you make them, you learn from them, and you just move on.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing. That's what we did. We bought the 25-unit properties Jake alluded to. We probably could have paid a little bit more. We probably could have gotten financing terms. We could have probably done a lot of other things. But if we didn't do that, we would not have had the momentum to carry us forward to the next deal. So that's the thing. You have to put your foot in the water, test the water, jump in. And then once you jump in, if it's cold, you just either get out and you just restructure your thought process, but you just got to keep pushing forward. And I give my partner a lot of credit for that. He holds us accountable for that.
Did you have a mentor, Gino? I know, you guys partnered together, and it sounds like Jake has gotten a lot of help and guidance from the relationship. Did you have a mentor when you got started?
Well, I was fortunate. I've had great parents. My parents are both, mentored me. My mom, both Italian immigrants. I'm first generation. So, instilling the hard work. That's what the real estate really helped me with. The restaurant business. I'm sorry. It's just a hard business. It's a hard working business. So I'll outwork anybody. I mean, people who want to work on the weekends, I'll work whenever we have to get something done.
No, I agree completely. And I would say 80% of this is mental. You have to get past those limiting beliefs. And of course the work ethic, like you talked about. And it was very interesting, Jake, to hear you talk about getting insight from doctors. Isn't that fascinating? Everybody thinks doctors make a ton of money, and they're telling you they make the most money from their real estate investments. I hope you guys listening are hearing that.
No. So, here's the thing: a lot, especially in New York, they're getting squeezed out because they're all going to medical groups, and now they're losing their private practices and going into basically W-2 earners, right? And so the guys that are doing good are the ones that have diversified into real estate up there, and man, it blew my mind. But I was fortunate just to have good mentors along the way. I give a lot of credit to that.
That's awesome.
And Rod, let me tell you one thing, Rod, that I learned from my dad, and I always tell this to Jake: it's not what you make, it's what you keep. So for anyone out there who's looking to raise private money, doctors and lawyers are probably one of the best sources of income to get for your private deals, because they're such high, there's such tax at such high rates that they're looking for any type of, tax, depreciation or tax write-offs. And real estate is one way that they can do it. And that's why Jake's guys, all the doctors up here, are using that, because they're such, they're taxed at such high rates that real estate offers those advantages to them. So when you're looking for, for private money, target those guys, because they're accredited investors. They've got enough money to do it. And also, like my business model, the last 5 or 6 years, they've been hit. They've been getting squeezed, like Jake said. So they've got to find alternate sources of income, and real estate for them is great. They don't want to get their hands on. So, hey, listen, that's one way to raise the private money and use their money to, to expand your portfolio, and also be able to offer them those tax incentives and those, rates of return.
Any advice for how to approach them, how to find them, how to get in front of them?
Sure. There's a couple things you can do. I mean, you can go out to the Chamber of Commerce, go out there, get your name out there. But Jake and I like to allude to something we call the credibility book. It's more like a business plan. When you put something together, our credibility book shows our strategy, shows what kind of deals we're in, shows our portfolio, shows how we make money. So before you get in front of any type of investor, you really need to lay out your plan. You need to lay out what your niche is. You need to lay out how you're going to return their money and how you're going to return a profit to them. So that's really, really, really important thing to do.
No, that's a great tip. Now, let me ask you this. When you're speaking of your credibility book, you're not talking about your wheelbarrow book. You're talking about a very personalized example of your strategy, your methodology, what you've done, your accomplishments. Am I correct?
Yep.
Or I don't want to assume.
No, exactly. We've got a product on Udemy. What I'll do is at the end of the podcast, I'll give you a link to it.
Love it. So, a lot of investors buy with the idea to reposition and sell. Me personally, I don't ever like selling my properties. What's your strategy on hold versus selling?
I want to touch on that because it goes back to one of the doctors that I was referring to, and Panero was coming in trying to buy one of his commercial places from him, and his statement back, I'll never forget this, is that I buy, I don't sell. And so his whole exactly. And he said, I will rent you this space all day, but you're not buying it from me, right? So getting to the point, we're buy and hold investors, right? Yeah, that is the strategy from the beginning, and that's why our partnership has worked out so well, because we had the same goals. We wanted to create wealth and create passive income. So, we're buying, we're refinancing if we need cash, and then we're on to the next deal.
Well, Jake likes to say, don't kill the golden goose. I mean, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to generate, streams of passive income, trying to generate those different streams, whether it's from real estate, whether it's from our education company. We're trying to generate those. So we don't really want to kill them off. I know a lot of guys who raise private money, they'll want to return their money within the next 3 to 5 years. We're not at that step yet. We're still self-funding ourselves. So I can see how people would want to buy them, hold them for 3 to 5. It just seems like it's so much work to be able to reposition that asset, and then all of a sudden all that work is done, and I'm going to just take the money off the table. We just like to really get that money flowing every month and have it come back to the partners with draws. That's what our goal is right now. I mean, maybe 10 years from now, when we're a little bit older, we want to get out of the business. That might be a little different, but I think for us right now, we just want to park our money. We just really want to get that money growing for us.
Agree completely. I'm in that camp as well. So let me ask you this: you mentioned partners. So have you done some syndications to do some of these deals?
We haven't yet. We still actually have money because we've been fortunate. The first deal we did, we really were able to refinance it. Well, we bought it at $4 million. 18 months later, it got refied. Its value was $6.5 million. It was doing $53,000 a month in revenue. The first month we took over. Last month we hit 90 in revenue. So you can see the value. I mean, it was just a very undervalued asset. Nobody wanted to touch it. It was on LoopNet for 5 years. It was just amazing. And we saw the value. We took a chance, but I mean, you have to take a chance. But, Jake did a fantastic job. It wasn't that work. I mean, he'll go through the 3-step process. We basically had to fill some vacant units. We did some work and refied it. We were able to pull out $1.6 million from the property 18 months later. So we redistributed that, and we've been using that to constantly grow the portfolio. So, I mean, are we going to syndicate maybe in the next 18 months? I'm going to be moving down to Jacksonville, Florida, because I want to, better quality of life. I want to, expand the portfolio, and I know Jacksonville is a great market to do that. And I think, once we get down there, if we start running out of money, we'll look at the syndication model.
Okay, fantastic. Well, I know your book, Wheelbarrow Profits, talks about 3 pillars for successful multifamily investing. Are those the 3 things you're alluding to, speaking about?
Yeah. So it's our framework was a result of our experience. And it just, we're going through it, and we always look to, where are the areas of risk, right? And how do we need to grow the business? And when it comes to multifamily, it's income versus expenses. So our framework is buy right, manage right, and finance right. And it's as simple as that. Multifamily is not rocket science. I'm going to tell you that right now. If you get these 3 things right, you are going to have a successful multifamily business. And with buy right, we're talking about, we buy mom and pop apartments. We like to buy larger mom and pop, 150 units or more. And what we found are there's families out there's partnerships that go in, buy big apartments, doctors, lawyers, families, whatever the case may be, and they don't run them like a business. They know that they need to be buying real estate, so they have money. They go in, they buy these things, and we've seen it where the doctor's wife is running, 300 units. We've seen it where the family has acquired the portfolio over time, and they've run it into the ground. We've seen mom and pops in all different shapes and sizes. But the bottom line is mom and pops provide value. So our goal is to buy these mom and pops on actuals at 10% cash-on-cash returns, and we like to get them at 8 caps. Okay, so that's our buy right strategy. Then from there, we look to manage right. We bought the property. What are we going to do? This is really our repositioning framework.
Can I stop you there for 1 second?
On. So you got
on the buy right portion. How are you identifying deals right now? Are you finding off market deals? And if you are, how are you getting those?
Let me speak to that real quick. First thing we have to do is you have to find a motivated seller. People don't understand this. In any business, in any action of life, if you want to buy value, you have to find someone who's motivated to sell. If they're not motivated to sell, whether they have a divorce, a business problem with a partner, whether they're retiring, whether they have a health issue. There's so many different types of motivated sellers, and that's our behest, that we have to really listen to why they're selling. That's the first thing you need to do. The second thing you need to do is to build relationships. Our first deal we got because we had a great relationship with the broker. We just hit it off right. We talked with the seller financing. He knew exactly what we were looking for, so we had a terrific relationship with the broker. And you want to find out who the brokers are in your market. So just go onto LoopNet, and you might not find the deals on LoopNet, but you'll find who the brokers are in that market. Contact those brokers. The ones like Jake likes to call the 80-20. 80% of the brokers have 20% of the listings, and 20% of the brokers have the 80% of the listings. So look for those 20% brokers. Start calling them. Start making contacts with them. And there are deals on the market that aren't, great. Like Jake said, our first deal was on the market. You just have to be able to see where the value is, see where you can raise income and cut expenses, and that's where you have to really.
Okay. Do you guys do any of your own marketing? I know, some people do mailers. Some people actually cold call owners. Do you do any of that, or do you work strictly with brokers?
We pretty much work strictly with brokers. And to answer your question earlier, we do off-market deals. We need to jump back to your earlier question about the 156 unit property after we get through this segment.
Right.
And that was an off-market deal. But typically, what we've seen on LoopNet is, and I don't want to give away too much because we're going to start getting people competing with us. Not just kidding. But a lot of the new stuff that comes on LoopNet, if it's on there for a day, we'll reach out, see what the deal is with it. But it's not the best. But the stuff that's been on LoopNet for a year or 2 years, that's where we've actually found opportunity, because everyone's already given up on it, right? And those people are starting to come around and say, okay, maybe I was a little unrealistic. The deal Gino was talking about earlier, we got a deal on LoopNet that was there for a while, and the guy came down $2 million, right? So you just never know, right? And then it's through relationships. It's knowing. I know there's 5 brokers in Knoxville that are really in the multifamily game. We know each other on a first name basis, and they know when they get something, they're calling me first because we're closers, and we've demonstrated that time and time again. So that's I think relationships are a huge driver for us getting new deals.
And Rod, also, have your listeners make those relationships with the bankers. Bankers do have a portfolio. They do have people that they're holding mortgages for. When, they're ready to sell, the banker's going to know that. Maybe the banker can, reach out to you and say, hey, listen, I've got a deal. You have accountants also. The accountants have a lot of people who are real estate investors. You have lawyers. You have title companies. There's a lot of these guys that are networking in the industry themselves that you can reach out to, make that relationship with, and, ask, hey, anyone selling? So they might have stuff that they know that's off market that you can get from them,
Oh, one other thing there too. All the brokers definitely have our credibility book as well. So keep that in mind, and because they know exactly what we're looking for. So when they get it, or they know that they may have a chance to get it, they're coming to us with it, right?
Love it. Okay, so the second portion.
Sure. So the second portion to our frame, right? Going back to what I was saying, really a positioning framework. And after positioning framework, way to look at your business. I was talking about versus expenses and making sure that you're staying on top of that. But getting into the repositioning framework, we're buying these mom and pop apartments. A lot of times they have higher than normal vacancies. So the first step is to evaluate the market, what the market rent is. And the first step is fill the vacants at market rent. There's a few ways we do this. We use rentometer.com. We use the different apartment websites to determine what the market rent is going to be. And let me give you a specific example of the Park Place deal that we did. We knew going in that the market rents were about $600. They were renting their out. These were 2-bedroom units for $450 a month. Okay, part of the reason that they were renting them so low is because they didn't want to put any work in. So they thought they could keep people there if they wouldn't fix anything, but by charging them a lower rent. Right? We call this the death spiral because eventually it's going to catch up and bite you, and it's not going to work. Right. So what we did, we went in, we knew we're going to put our two-tone paint scheme in, we're going to upgrade the units, just make them a little more modern. We call it modern affordability. We don't do a whole lot, but we go in, we make sure the paint is crisp, the floors are in good shape, counters are in good shape, and that's really all we did on the interior. We cleaned up the outside, did the landscaping a little bit, did some driveway repairs, painted the outsides that needed it, and that was it, really. And that was take this property from $53,000 to $90,000. That was the first phase. So fill the vacant units at market. The second phase, we implement RUBS, which is ratio utility systems. This is essentially billing the tenants back for the water that they're using. Okay, if folks aren't familiar with it, there's many companies out there. You can Google RUBS, RUBS, ratio utility billing systems, and essentially all these multifamily owners are paying the water tenants. So what we did is we went back and we billed the tenants back $35 a month per door. There's 136 units. You can see, I think we're doing right now a month on that, if my math is correct. So that's been fantastic for us. So first, we're filling the vacant units at market. We're implementing the RUBS. We start to get stabilized, and we're maybe 10 or 15 grand away from our strike number, right? We're then going to go back through, and we're going to raise the remaining tenants that have not had their market. And it just depends on how the apartments perform. We may do 2 a month. We may do 6 a month. But within 12 to 24 months, you will basically be fully repositioned using this framework.
Love it. Now, let me ask you a question. Any tips for, obviously besides the cosmetic work that you do to the units, any tips for filling them quickly?
Yeah, so another tip, too, we actually do not really pay anything for marketing. And in the past, it was always, location, location, location. We like to think of it as vicinity, because all the millennials are renting on, finding their leads on the internet now, right? And if you're in a good vicinity, you don't have to be on the busiest intersection, right? So what we're doing is we're using rent links, we're using Craigslist, we're making sure that we have a really crisp website, and that on all our signage, our website is there, because that's a lot. Believe it or not, a lot of folks, if they drive by, they'll see that. But it's a lot of the online advertising that we're doing. Rent links pushes out to 25 different rental websites. It's free, and Craigslist has been a big driver for us as well. And we don't pay anything for these sites.
So you make sure that you have a good, well done website for every property.
That is, well, we've some websites we take on a solo, depending on how big it is, may have a solo website. If not, we have under our property management site, we list
under your management company. Got it. Okay.
We do a little bit of both. It just depends.
On that.
And we're in the middle of that right now. We're in the middle of taking more pictures. We're in the middle of really taking videos. So when people want to come out there, if they can't come out, they can go on the website. Look at a video of what one of the units looks like, so they can really pre-qualify themselves. I mean, makes you look so professional when you have that all on your website. That's just really, really important to do.
Yeah, we're going to. I think this is going to be our third major change that we've done since we started. So we're kind of rebooting everything and constantly trying to upgrade that, because that's really our only marketing cost at this point.
Wow. I must have missed something. What's the third change? I'm sorry.
The third change is for the repositioning framework is we raise the remaining renters to market.
Oh, got that. No. Okay,
part of the framework. So it's to fill the vacants, it's the RUBS, and then you're going through and you're raising the remaining tenants. And that's been huge because in that property, again, most people were at $450, and we moved them to $595. So,
and Rod, the important thing is people are going to think, I'm going to lose these tenants. You're not going to lose the tenants, because what we're doing is we're adding value. The laundry machines didn't work, right? So we upgraded all the laundry units by bringing in CoinMac. We got new laundry machines. We really cleaned the place out. We really painted the exteriors. Everything looked good. So we're not going in there and just starting to raise rents. We really took care of the tenants. And if they don't like it, they can always go down the street and rent something else at the same price as what we're willing to charge them. So, I mean, it's not like going in there and just raising, indiscriminately. It's just going in there and saying, listen, we're going to offer you a great product that's modern, that's affordable, but it has to go at market price. And we're going to give you great service. We have great maintenance techs. Jake is really on top of that. Somebody has a problem. I'll give you a quick story of that big deal we're talking about. Guy comes in the office. Jake told me this. It's great to hear this kind of stuff. Guy comes in, he starts crying. He says, Jake's like, what's going on? Guy's crying because his stove didn't work for 6 months. And, the first week we're there, we're right on top of it. So that customer service goes a long way. People want customer service. So you have to treat your tenants like their clients. And that's one of the important things that a lot of these mom and pops don't do. They don't treat them as clients. They don't take care of that customer service. And it's really important to focus on that aspect of the business.
No, you're absolutely right. A lot of landlords are adversarial, and that is absolutely the wrong way to do this. And I want to circle back, so make sure my listeners picked up on something, and that is when you raise the rents, you don't go in blanketly and do them all at once, because you could have a hiccup if you do that. So you said you do 2 to 6 per month, so that staggered. If you do lose some, it's not going to kill your bottom line.
Sometimes you just got to watch out, because at one point we were doing 6 to 8, and we're feeling great about it. But then eventually we had some of those folks that did eventually leave, and they kind of left in, I think we had 5 leave at one time, right? So it just depends. So you got to be a little delicate with it, but don't be afraid, because we get students asking all the time, and this is one of their things that they're most afraid of. How can I do this? I can't raise it. They're so scared to do this, right? Look, you
right.
send in Knoxville or Tennessee, we got to send it 30 days prior, right? The letter. So
right.
You're going to send them a letter 30 days prior to the rent going up, stating that this will be your new rent price. And look, I'm not going to say people don't get upset about it. And some people will move out, but guess what?
Sure.
They're going to move out. You're going to upgrade that unit anyways, and then you're going to rent it for $150 more per month. Anyway, so it's going to be okay. So a lot of people freak
right.
out, and that's once you do a few of them, it's like anything. Oh, it just becomes part of the business, and it's not a big deal. But it's those first few that people are so afraid of.
Now, that's awesome. All right, so that's we're still finishing up the manage right portion here. Okay, and I hope everybody's listening. Again, just want to hammer something home. You don't have an adversarial relationship. You treat your tenants like they're gold, because they are. Okay.
Jake, touch on the third one, the finance one.
Yep. So the third portion, and it really does come down to a 3-legged stool. That's why our book was called Wheelbarrow Profits, because our goal is to fill the wheelbarrow up with multifamily assets and passive income. And to keep that wheelbarrow standing, you need 3 pillars. One is going to be the back leg, which is buy right because it's fixed. The next is going to be manage right, the wheel. We touched on that because it's constant and ongoing. And the third is finance right, because we want that to be fixed as well. So we're typically getting into these deals with community banks because we can close quickly and get the deal done. Once it's repositioned, we're then looking to the secondary market, say Fannie Mae, right? And then we'll try to refi these to non-recourse, longer term and amortizations, right? So we may be getting 25-year AMs right now. You to Fannie, you're going to get it to a 30-year AM. That extra 5 years really helps cash flow. It then takes it off your books because it's going to be non-recourse. And essentially, for the listeners out there, a non-recourse loan, we do set our entities up in LLCs, but the one issue is that the bank will make you sign a guarantee if it's a community bank, basically saying that you're going to be responsible for that debt. With a non-recourse loan, you're basically they're not going to hold you liable. They're just going to take the property back if you default, right? Because they look at it as such a strong asset. So we're going to get these on a non-recourse, longer amortizations, and at least a 10-year term. If you guys are truly buy and hold, there are options out there where you can get 30-30s. Essentially, a 30-30 is going to be a amortization and a 30-year term, very similar to your home mortgage. The safest product, but if you try to move it, it's going to be a challenge. So we're looking right now at the 10-30s, a 10-year term, 30-year amortization, non-recourse with very competitive rates.
Could you speak to your last comment about if you have a 30-30, it's difficult to move it? Could you explain why so people understand?
So what that bank is going to, or say Fannie, if you get something out there, they're going to expect you to commit to that entire 30 years, and there's going to be a penalty if you break that at, say, year 10, right? And the problem is we just can't predict the future. And these are businesses, and you may be in a business partnership, and something may come up where one of the partners needs to do something that is going to affect that deal, and you may have to move it, right? So we're willing to commit to a 10-year term, and basically we're going to be responsible for paying that interest over that 10 years, right? In a 30-year, it's great if you know 100% that you're not moving it, right?
Right, if it's a legacy property that you know you're never going to sell.
So that's the difference there. You just don't. You got to look at all of it, right? So
right, perfect. So so that's finance, right? And so what besides what you've already shared a tremendous amount of value. What words of wisdom would you share with somebody that hasn't bought anything yet, that wants to get into it, might be apprehensive, scared? What would you tell that person?
Well, I would really start out with looking within. Is it a should or is it a must? Because for me, it was a should for the last 15 years. And then when it became a must for me, I think it was game over, because my must became really strong. And I had to have a reason why. So my reason is I've got a big family. I've got to feed a lot of mouths. I just want to be satisfied. I want to go to work and be juiced and create value and have fun building a business. So I saw real estate as that end game for me. So all the listeners out there, it can't be, I'm going to dabble. You have to figure out, is this for you? And once you figure out it is for you, the next thing is you've got to get on podcasts. You've got to get books. I would even look at coaching. Coaching was great. I've done coaching with Dave Lindahl. I did coaching with Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I think they're just great. People say they're a ripoff. They are not. If you want to get into it and you really make it a must, you'll learn a ton of stuff. You'll learn a ton of stuff about being held accountable. You'll learn a ton of stuff about the business. Are they expensive? Yes. But I think it's more expensive not to be educated than it is to be educated. You're investing in yourself. I mean, people spend $60,000 a year to go to school to get, to get a college degree, then they don't even know what they want to do. If you know you want to get into real estate, spend that money, go to a couple seminars, get a couple of coaching, get a couple of coaching, mentors out. Yeah,
coaches,
get them. You need that. You need to learn about it. And then once you do that, just pick your niche. Pick what you want to do, what you want to invest in. I mean, we have similar goals. Some people might want to start fixing and flipping to get that chunk of cash. Learn that. Go out there, go to a seminar, learn that, and then just start doing it.
Yeah, just do it. Okay, that's great advice. Let me ask you a question. A lot of people talk about team, and you guys have talked about brokers and talked about what was the other that you talked about? Now I'm drawing a blank. But obviously you've put lenders, talking to bankers and talking to brokers. How do you put your team together? And are those the only two people you have on your team, or there's others? Right? All right. Speak to that a little bit.
We are rolling with the Denver Broncos right now. We got a championship team behind us, and it was not easy to build. And the reason that it's so strong right now, and I'm so proud of our team, is that we started with two things. And we started with, number one, we hired based on attitude, and we hired based on ethics. Everything else from there, it gets chunked down. I'll give you an example. The managers that we hire, number one, for attitude and ethics. Then we're trying to develop a customer service culture. So we've actually cherry-picked some amazing managers from the restaurant industry, because I'll give you an example of our last manager that we hired worked at Ruth Chris. Got a great education at Ruth Chris in customer service, but wanted more. So we're able to take her, and she is a rock star manager for us now. And she has that customer service and sales experience, but she came to the table with attitude and ethics. We have a tremendous team from brokers, bankers, insurance brokers, mortgage brokers. We have probably 30 independent contractors that we use, and we use something. It's not Gino likes to call it the Pareto's Law. It's kind of the Pareto's Law. It's an 80% rule. If you're giving us about 80%, we're done with you. We're just not going to move forward. We got to have you 100% in the game. If you're a contractor, you're working for us, and you're just not giving us everything, then we're moving on, and we'll just keep churning until we find the right people. And it's amazing that it took a long time to get the team where it is, but we have such a strong team in place, and everyone contributes with a good attitude, and they're good. They have good moral foundations. And in the real estate game, that's maybe not the easiest to find, especially dealing with contractors, as many as we do. So that's I guess those are the qualities that we look for, and that's how we've built our team.
Rod,
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Attitude is everything.
You won't be for your business. Weak. I mean, your team can only be as strong as the weakest link. So basically, if you have a weak team member, it's going to hold the team down. And you know what? I hate firing people. I'm not comfortable. Sometimes you do it. You have to cut the cancer out. And if there's somebody who's a cancer in your business, he's going to spread. So you either take the hit short term or it's going to kill you long term. And Jake has been really great at corporate America. He right away, it just went right into his DNA. He was like, this is what I am. And some people might find that hard. If you find that hard, I mean, I love Donald Trump. He says you're fired. Basically, you just got to get out.
We don't say that though.
No, and I'll tell you, it's very common knowledge that one of the biggest challenges many business owners have, not just in this genre but business in general, is they keep people on they should have fired a long time ago, and because it's better for them, honestly.
They think
if they're not happy or not performing. No. My point is that it's better for the person you're letting go to have them move on to something they're going to be happy in and successful in versus floundering with you and hurting both you and your organization. I was referring to business owner
because sometimes they look at it as more of a hassle to deal with it, nip it in the bud. Right. But my experience has shown that it's better to just move on, do away with the relationship, and then get the person that is going to do what you need them to do. So.
Yeah, I agree. So let's talk for a minute about that 156-unit property, if you don't mind.
Gino, you want to take it?
I just flew down to Knoxville on Tuesday. Got stuck there overnight.
Second time.
Second time. I don't know what it is with Tennessee and airplanes. But anyway, we got stuck down there. It was great. I went down there. We're in the middle of the deal right now, so we're just doing a little bit of value searching. So what we did is we went in the market. It's 156 units. Not the majority. I'd say about 70% of them are one-bedrooms. Some are one-bedroom towns, one-bedroom gardens, and then there's two-bedroom towns, homes, and two-bedroom gardens. They're a little bit under-rented, but what we saw in this property, this is one of our first B properties. We like to invest mainly in C's, but this is more of a B property, not because of its age, because it was built back in the I would say the late 80s, but it's just because of the location. It's a great location. What we saw in this property was that the amenities were lacking. They had a pool, but they had no clubhouse, they had no workout, and they also had their laundry units split up on the property. There's 3 laundry units that can be reconverted into apartments, which is what we're going to do. So there's the office, which is right off of the pool, which what we're going to do is we're going to put the laundry in there. We're going to put a clubhouse overlooking the pool, and we're going to put the workout overlooking the pool. So we're going to be able to really amenitize this property, given the amenities it needs. And from the tenant base, which seems like they're more younger, they're more professional, that's what millennials want. We're going to put Wi-Fi in there. And I think...
Wow, that doesn't have Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
okay.
We asked the manager. She goes, well, kids nowadays don't want to get together. Well, they don't want to get together because there's no amenity. There's no TV there, so they can hang out, watch TV while they're doing their laundry. They can hang out right next to the pool while they're doing laundry. They can work out, save that $30 a month instead of going to a gym. They can work out on the property. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that you have to know what your tenants want. That's the thing. We're trying to create a culture. We're trying to create a great vibe on the property. So this is one way you do it. And you know what? If you can do it and you do it successfully, then you're going to get paid on the back end. You're going to be able to raise those rents $30, $40, $50 a month because the tenants see value. We want to put a barbecue pit up on top when you drive in with a couple of barbecues, a couple of picnic tables. We want to put a dog park there also. We've got in the back of the property is a beautiful path going down to where basketball court used to be. We want to put a big dog park there, fenced in, and that's what people, tenants want. About half of our tenants have pets, so that's something.
Knoxville's huge for dogs. Everyone has. Yeah.
Okay.
So these are all things that we want to really strive for. We want to see where the value is, how we're going to achieve value. And from this property, and we've seen it in the market. We go down the street 5 minutes to our competitor. That's what our competitor did. Our competitor just juiced the property up with amenities. So that gives us the plan. Hey, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can just figure out, hey, this guy's doing that. It's successful for him. Let's copy it. So that's our strategy.
Absolutely.
And I really think that Gino's being modest, too. I think there may be $150 to $200 in movement on this one when it's all done per unit.
Really?
Yeah, I really do.
Oh. Well, the one bed is $650 right now, one bed townhome. Our competitors are getting about $800. So, I mean, I'm always not the pessimistic, but I'm always undershoot. So when I do get that $150, I'm like, wow, that is awesome. So, I mean, I think Jake is more right. It might take a few months. It might take us, let's say we buy the property in March. It might take us another 3 or 4 months to get all these fixes in. But by the summertime when the pool's cranking, we got the barbecues out there, the umbrellas, I really think we can start seeing some big movement on this property.
I want to go hang out. Let's go.
So I'm going to ask you guys if you'd be kind enough to share both one war story and one victory story that's occurred during your career. You know, one war story where you really got bloodied and bruised, and one total home run. I think you may have already talked about the home run, that $1.6 million refi. I think that qualifies. But and then what your takeaways were.
Sure. Let me go first because the war story is always great for me. I'm in the midst of it right now. It's not even my war story. It's my mom's war story. She did a 1031 into a property about 10 years ago when the market was up here. It was still hot. She bought a little commercial building. Lo and behold, the lawyer and her, and they didn't do their due diligence. The upstairs was illegal. So in a commercial building, we had it for 10 years. Nobody said anything. It was seller financed. So, it was basically the bank didn't do any kind of due diligence. We're going to sell the property a year ago. Title company picks up that upstairs is illegal. Oh, well, let's fix it. Not a big deal. Lo and behold, in New York, you have to put a sprinkler system in. If you fire, and you know how much that costs? The permits here, it's just a war story. I mean, it's just amazing what things cost. I mean, I want to, stress this. When you do your due diligence, the first one is you do your financial. If financial works, then you do your physical. That's the second one. After your physical, which is, the inspections, you do your legal. Legal normally works out, but if you have an illegal apartment, something that's not right, get it fixed or get out of the deal because it is not worth it. Because even if you're going to hold it for the next 10, 15 years, I'm going through the same thing with another property that we just got rectified. It was a 3-family with a 4th apartment that was illegal. 10 years ago, New York didn't really care about it, but now they're all hungry for revenue. So they're all looking at all these little things where they want you to pull building permits and they want everything up to code. And make sure it's up to code. If it's not up to code, get it up to code. The sprinkler system, I think once it's all said and done, is going to cost me like another $50,000. I mean, it's amazing. And that's not bad. If I have city water, if I have city water, I have to put in tanks underground, $50,000. So, I mean, it's just amazing. I mean, that's a war story. And the worst part about it is it's been a year. It's been on my mind for the last year. It just takes up time, and it's just not worth it. So just do your due diligence. Make sure that you look at everything and before it gets done, because it's upon you. Buyer beware. Once you buy it, you assume it.
Yeah, that's a painful one. How about a victory story?
Because you brought up that Park Place deal, let me quickly run through that one more time because there's some interesting things here. And one thing that I've really been looking at over the last year, and what the common theme that I've seen with all our victories, is that we've been patient, persistent, but willing to walk away. And it just to this Park Place deal, that was the one that we cashed out $1.6 million on. It took us forever to get it right. We were patient with it. It took us a long. We finally got the deal done. But then this patient persistence and willing to walk away thing keeps coming up even with the refi because we were willing to walk away. We had our price at $4 million. If we didn't get it, we were going to walk away. Fortunately, we got the deal done. But when we went to refi it, the issue was we got an appraisal. It was well below what we knew the property was worth, right? So we could have taken it and cashed out maybe $200,000-$300,000. But we said, no, we know this is crap. We kept fighting. We got another appraisal. Comes back at $6.5 million. Well, the CMBS lender didn't want to lend on that much, right? So they got the guy to knock the appraisal down a little bit and capped us, I think, at $6 million. So you know what? We said we don't need it. We're in for the long haul. We walked away from him. Okay, this is going on for about a year. We then got our community bank back involved on this one, gave us the full amount on an 80% LTV when the CMBS lender wanted to give us 75%. So we were able to realize the full potential of our work and cash out the $1.6 million. And I know that's a quick summary, but this thing was a beast. I mean, you talk about this. Actually, we did go to war on this thing, but we finally came out on top. And we were patient the entire time. We were persistent. We kept going back, getting different appraisals, and then when they didn't work out, we walked away. But eventually, we got the one. We hit the home run, and we cashed out and repurposed that money into future deals.
Well, that's very, very good advice. I hope you guys are listening to that because that whole methodology of patient, persistent, and willing to walk away, if you can come into it with that frame of mind, first of all, it relieves a lot of stress, I'm sure, and you get a whole lot more done. You're a lot more successful with that mindset. Well, we're getting near the end of the show, and I'd like to just have one last thing for the listeners. And I was hoping maybe you could leave them with one last little bit of advice. Somebody, about ready to get in the business, maybe he's already in the business. One little nugget of advice before we call it a day here.
Well, my biggest thing is don't quit. I know it's cliche, it's too easy, but we almost quit in the beginning, and we really truly were 3 feet from gold, and we got back into it, and we've just knocked it out of the park ever since then. So it can get tough, it can get extremely discouraging. You can say, "What the hell am I doing? I'm wasting my time." But the best thing we did, and I say this every time, is that we didn't quit. So overly simple, yes, but it's the truth.
No, it's very valuable. How about you, Gino?
The biggest thing that I like to stress is if you can't do it by yourself, if you're afraid, you need help, look for a partner. I mean, a partner is great because they hold you accountable. You'll let yourself down, but you won't let your partner down, which is really strange. And everyone can attest to that. You don't want to let your partner down, so you're going to work harder for him than you are for yourself. So sometimes that's really great because you're putting yourself out there for him. He's putting himself out there for you. You have different skill sets. You can with each other, and you have somebody to lean on. When you're having a tough day, you pick up the phone, call a partner, this is what's going on, and you guys work off each other. You have more assets, your balance sheet is stronger with the two of you, and you can get more done. I mean, if you're that type where you don't want to get in, you can't commit by yourself, seek somebody out, seek someone else who has the same type of framework that you do, same type of goals that you do, and just go for it.
That's very valuable advice. Well, listen, for those of you that are listening, these guys obviously have a lot of value to add. Their website is jakeandgino.com. They've got some great resources on there as well. Guys, thank you so much. You guys added a ton of value today, and I hope we can stay in touch and compare notes.
Right, you got me pumped up. I want to go do a deal right now. Let's go. Come on.
Hey, you guys be well, stay warm, and thanks so much.
Thank you for listening to the Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing podcast. If you've enjoyed the show, please subscribe and then take a moment to visit iTunes and leave a 5-star rating and review. For more resources to connect with us further, please visit our website at lifetimecashflowpodcast.com. Tune in next week for our next show.